Hello everybody, FIDE Master Graham Morrison here. I hope you enjoyed my loss against Grandmaster Fear that I posted a few hours ago. As I said then, I thought I'd follow up that tale of misery with something a lot happier from my perspective, which is a recent victory over a Grandmaster. So today's game I'll show you is my game against Grandmaster Neil McDonald, and it was played a little over a year ago in a team competition, the English County Championship, which I played Neil on board 1. A little bit of a history or background to this game. I played Neil 2 years before that in the same event. And I prepared very thoroughly for that game, especially for the eventuality of me being the white pieces. And the variation you'll see today is quite a complex line in the Dutch defence. Now Neil's actually written a book on the Dutch defence. It's a very excellent book. It's called Starting Out the Dutch Defence, which I have a copy of, and I've read assiduously. And I actually used a lot of Neil's thoughts in his book as the basis of my preparation for him. So I did quite a thorough job for preparing for him way back in 2005, but on the day it happened that I had the black pieces and not the white pieces, just the luck of the coin, and I lost quite a complex game, but no fault of the opening. It was quite a balanced game throughout. He just outplayed me at the end. Back to today's game. I said this was 2 years later. This time my captain won the coin toss. I had the white pieces, and I got a chance to wheel out a lot of the preparation that I'd done 2 years earlier. I just had to, I brushed up obviously in the day or two before the match, but it was essentially the same preparation. And it went very well. Neil walked right into the line that I expected, and I got a glorious position, as you'll see. Okay, I'm white, so d4, f5, Dutch defence. Neil plays quite a lot of lines, but the Dutch defence is quite a favourite for him. G3, knight f6, bishop g2, g6. Now this is a line called the Leningrad Dutch. It's very complex indeed. It's a sort of hybrid between the Dutch defence and the King's Indian defence. It's very aggressive. I've played it myself in the past. I think it's quite good. It looks a bit suspicious, but it's a lot more resilient than it looks. It looks like it opens up quite a lot of holes in black's position, but they're very difficult to exploit. Anyway, knight f3, bishop g7, castles, c4, d6, knight c3, knight c6. Okay, now black has a lot of possibilities here. c6 is possible, knight a6 is possible, queen e8 is possible. There's lots of lines. a5 is possible. There's lots of ways of interpreting black's position, but knight c6 was the line that I had expected, because I knew that it was a favourite with Neil. So we get into my preparation. Takes. Now white has several options here. I played c5. The move queen b3 tends to transpose to the variation that I chose. But the other major alternative is the system e4, but I've never particularly liked that. I quite like black sacrificing a pawn with f4, but it's not probably a real sacrifice. But this sort of position, I think, very much plays into black's hands. I think black gets a fine aggressive position on the king's side, and I don't really like it for white. The line I played, c5, on the other hand, I like quite a lot. It's quite a simple plan to play, as you'll see, and gives white a very rapid queenside attack. h6, queen b3, king h8, rook d1. Okay, all fairly normal stuff, but now is where black has quite a big choice. Neil played the move a6, which is what I expected, because that's what he gave an exclamation mark in his book. there's another system which is related but slightly different, where black plays an early g5, and I'll just show you a couple of the main systems in this. White plays bishop d2, which is the same plan you'll see in the game, a6, and then this idea with knight a4. Now the idea is to play bishop a5, put pressure on this pawn in c7, and go for a quick d6. Also takes advantage of the fact that the b6 square is slightly weakened now that black has played a6. So it's quite a nice, fine, aggressive plan. Black usually plays queen e8. There are some sidelines. There's one variation in which black absolutely goes for broke, regardless of the cost on the queen side. Doesn't quite work, but white's got to know what he's doing. I'll just quickly show you how it works. So it's like bishop a5, and then black sort of plays e4, d6, takes, e3, f3. Now, this may look a little bit scary, but black's attacking the king's side really doesn't get anywhere, and white, in the meantime, tends to crush through in the queen side and in the centre. So this is actually very good for white. Even better for white is black being even more suicidal and going for mate in h2. Something like knight g4, d6, takes in g3, and then going something like queen e8, d takes c7, queen h5. So this looks like very scary stuff, but it's pretty much all bluff really. Rook d8 pins the rook that would have been attacking. Check, king f1, and you can see that black's attack is running out of steam a bit. The only way to sort of try and refuel it is something like knight e3 check, takes, bishop h3, but then just a calm king e1, and then king d2, and there's no attack at all. And in the meantime, white's going to get a new queen at some point quite shortly. So that's a scary line, but really is all bluff. The main line here, which I'd sort of expected, was queen e8, because this is a line that Neil hadn't played, but I'd seen some games by one of Neil's friends, one of his pupils, had played some games with this line, and I had prepared a system that my team captain Mike Conroy had showed me. He's a fan of this as black. He had played it in a postal game, and his opponent had actually come up with quite a strong system against it. I'll quickly show you it. It's this system, which is actually quite well known apparently, though it doesn't make too much sense to me from black's perspective. It just looks great for white. But apparently this is all the rage in some of the quarters of correspondence chessland. But here, Mike had played this and his opponent played f4. A game Leotard versus Conroy, played in Postal Chess in 1997, and Mike, as black, found it impossible to really get much play here. So, had Neil played this system, I was very much intending to play this setup that Mike Conroy had showed me. But in reality, Neil played a6, which is what I expected, given that he had given that an exclamation mark in his book. And so I played bishop d2, same plan. The idea is knight a4, and then bishop a5. He played a move which was new to me actually. He played e4. Now, I tell you what I'd expected. I'd expected queen e8. Now, because of the move order, knight a4 is not so good, because they can play bishop d7, hitting the knight, and I don't have time to implement my bishop a5 plan. can't play c6 because he would just take it. It's not defended enough. So what I have to play is rook c1 first in order to play knight a4, and then I can push through c6, and then e4 and then g5 is the main line. Now, this was the position that I had sort of expected in my preparation, and there was two ways that I thought he might play this. There was a game that Neil put in his book, Pelletier versus Vallejo Ponce, in which Neil had put a suggestion for improvement, and that went bishop d7, knight c3, and Neil's improvement over the move that was played, which was rook c8, was the move b6. I had a look at this, but I had concluded that I thought white was better after bishop takes b6 and then queen b4. And I was happy to play this system against Neil to test his analysis. Neil didn't go that way, but the other way that I had suspected that he might go was that in my research, the informator, chess informant, they had suggested the weird and wonderful move knight takes d5. Whoa, which is a very strange move. I mean, obviously the idea is that if I play queen takes d5, then the knight in a4 is en prise, and if I play rook takes d5, then I play bishop e6, pinning the rook against my queen, and then possibly winning it with c6. So I had to prepare against that, and I prepared some original analysis which hasn't appeared in any books yet. But basically I concluded that white's better after the very strange sequence rook takes d5, falling into the trap, bishop e6, which threatens either c6 or bishop takes rook, followed by queen takes knight in a4. Then white plays c6, pawn takes, rook d8. This is all pretty much forced. Bishop takes b3, rook takes e8, bishop takes a4, pretty much forced. Rook takes f8, rook takes f8, b3, bishop b5, and now the splendid move, bishop f1. And now it's apparent that black's bishop in b5, which had gone off on a big wander, is now in a little bit of trouble. I'm actually threatening to win it with a4, having defended the pawn in e2. And in order to not lose that, black's going to have to play the move c5 either just now or perhaps after an exchange of bishops like this, and then play c5. And then white, I think, is quite a lot better after he regains the pawn. Black's still got an errant bishop and has weak pawns all over the place, so this is really quite nice. So that's all original Graham analysis that you won't find anywhere, but that was the sort of system that I had expected to play or had prepared in the days up to playing Neil McDonald. But thus far that variation's not seen the light of day in a real game. Now Neil didn't play any of that, but that was my main preparation, those systems. Neil actually played the move e4, which was a new move to me. I'm not sure that it's as good as the line that we just looked at, but we'll see, because he could have improved a little bit later, but as we'll see. So I continued with my plan, still a good one, and then this idea of bishop e1 I thought looked quite nice. I'm really just going to try to push through with d6 at some point soon, and I thought that was really quite a nice way of developing. Just one thing to notice is that because his move e4, I no longer have the option of the knight a4 plan, because the pawn in d5 would be en prise, because he's cut off the defence from the bishop in g2. So bishop e1 I think is pretty much forced. Now he's got a variety of moves here. Queen e8 he played, which is the most straightforward, trying to go for a kingside attack, and of course I just pushed through in the centre, d6. I think this is a bit better for white, but possibly not as good as it looks. At the time I was really quite optimistic, but I think black has improvements. He took, which is fair enough. Takes, which is all fair enough. But now I think Neil panicked a little bit. It looks quite scary, white having pushed through in the centre, but I think the move b5 is actually not too bad for black. I think it's a bit better for white. I've got some lines that can test black, but it makes the system still viable. And I think that white's advantage is only a slight advantage, it's not a clear advantage. Having said that, I'd rather be white. What Neil played instead was the move f4, which basically trying to go for broke on the king side, queen h5, go for mate, but really it's unlikely to succeed. I'm too strong in the centre. His king side's actually too weak, and as you'll see in the game, actually his king's in more danger of being mated than my king is. So I think this is quite not a good move. I think white has a clear advantage now. Push through knight d5. I'm starting knight c7, knight b6, rook c7. I think that this basically snuffs out black's attack, and then it deprives him of his knight in f6. And after that, white's just pouring into the position. He took an f3, a g3, sorry, and I could have taken back with the h pawn, which is I suppose the principled positional way to do it. But I was still a little bit nervous about perhaps doing something in the king side, with perhaps knight g4. So I played f takes g3 instead, which looked to me to be a safer option, and that I can always, if need be, play an h3 type move if it really comes to that. I thought my king was just a little bit safer with f takes g3. I'm not sure. H takes g3 might be better, but f takes g3 still maintains my advantage. He took, and queen takes, and now I think my advantage is really quite pronounced, because his pawn in e4 is very weak, and his king side is now starting to look rather strained as well. As you can see from the fact that he can't take on b2 with his bishop, because h6, pawn on h6 would be en prise with check. So I think this is really quite bad for black now. Possibly his best move is queen f7, but after bishop takes e4, I have to be hugely better here. I'm a pawn up, but not just that, but a pawn up with a better position. What Neil played was queen b5, which I think is just now a forced loss. Though I had to have quite a big think about this. I was okay for time. Because of my good preparation in this game, I had kept good control of the clock, and I felt that there must be something here. It felt very, very good, the position. So I took my time here, maybe 15-20 minutes, and played the move rook c5, which I think is very powerful. Now, it seemed to me that there were two main variations. In one variation I won his queen, in the second variation I mated him. Obviously I was hoping for the mate. But unfortunately, after a long thought, Neil took on b2, which is the variation that loses his queen. Okay, it's nice to win his queen, and I think it's a winning position after that, but I was really looking forward to the mating line, which goes something like, if he plays queen takes e2, then I have the powerful move rook takes h6 check, which just pours in and kills him. For example, bishop takes, then bishop c3 check. As you can see, if he plays king h7, then bishop takes e4 check. It's just adding one more piece into the attack. So you might as well play bishop g7 instead, and then you get takes, queen takes g5 check. His king can go either way, but whatever way it goes, he gets mated. Goes to f7, then it's check, 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 mate. Nice and simple geometry. And then if he goes the other direction, which is h8, then it's just a pretty straightforward rook and queen type thing like this. All very easy stuff. But I was looking. Having said it was easy. I was looking forward to it. I would have enjoyed that. I was looking forward to the move rook takes h6 check. But he played queen takes b2, and I internally thought boo hiss. But let's go and win his queen anyway. So rook takes h6 check. Bishop takes forced, and then bishop c3 check. So it's a forced win with queen, but okay, it's now a winning position, but it's now not so easy because his king is now really very hard, possibly impossible to get at, given the protection of the two bishops. And so it's now a lot more technical, and so the challenge for white is how to wrap up the game with the minimum of counterplay. Because especially when you're playing a grandmaster, you can't afford to go giving those guys counterplay. Got to keep good control. So rook c7, pretty obvious first move. You know, rook in the 7th, must be good. Bishop g7. Played h3. I was just a little bit nervous here of him possibly at some stage playing g4 and bottling my king up. Seemed to me that if I allowed g4 with my king there, then that was a recipe for him possibly putting a rook in d8 and possibly getting some sort of back rank mate type things with bishop d4 check and etc. So giving my king a little bit of an escape square seemed to me to be the safe way to play it. He played rook d8 to activate his rook, and then I took in b7. Now possibly his most resilient move is bishop e5. Though I'm pretty sure I'm winning after that. One line I did see at the time was this sort of a thing, and I'd seen that I had the nice move e3, which is quite good because basically if he takes, then I have queen b2 check, bishop d4, queen e2, which is a nice transference of my queen. Something like bishop g1 check, king h1. I'm still threatening his rook. I'm threatening queen h5 check. And if we get a position like check, takes, and queen h5 check, and then takes here, it's all becoming quite easy for me now. My king's nice and safe, and I've won yet more material. I'd seen that line when I played queen takes b7. I'd actually seen it before when I played h3, because it was quite key, once again, that I keep control. I mean, this is one of the things about consolidation, is that it's okay to allow tactics, but as long as you're controlling the tactics and you know exactly what's going to happen, then that's fine. What you can't allow, when especially when you get a winning position, is for all of a sudden random tactics to appear that you hadn't foreseen, and then any result could happen. So rather than you having a nice smooth win, it could be, I said, any result. Could be draw, could be a loss. So care is required. He played rook b8. Now possibly the best move would be to move my queen here, eat another pawn. Queen takes a6, for example. But I'd seen that the end game that I could get while sacrificing my queen back seemed to me to be pretty straightforward. And so another principle of consolidation, going for the straightforward line, I think is quite important. So I played rook takes g7, rook takes b7. So I've given back my queen. So I'm now not a queen up, but I'm a pawn up. And further than that, he has also two nice weak pawns, the pawn in a6 and the pawn in e4. And further than that, I have a nice rook, a glorious rook in the 7th rank, which is always a great thing to have. So I was quite confident that I could win this, especially as my time situation was fine. And I could also see that if he went trying to get the material back, I could see possibilities of my king marauding into his position, and that's exactly what happened. He didn't want to stay a pawn down, so he went in with a passive rook. So he played rook d8, king f2, rook d2. Now, I suppose I could try to defend this pawn in a2, but it's much more important to have active pieces. And here I could see that my king could be a very, very powerful attacking force, especially in this ending. So king e3 is what I played, giving back the pawn, and then bishop takes e4. Now this is the key thing, was that I'd calculated that if he took here, then this was really quite a trivial win, because king f5, and the key point being that if he does something like rook e3 trying to win back the pawn on g3, I just play king g6. And actually, you know, in order to avoid the mate, he has to go back with his rook to either e6 or to e8, and then I gobble his pawn on g5, and it's very, very simple. So actually, that's really quite a simple line. So he can't go trying to take the pawn back like this. Another way that he could play is rook a3 check. Have to make sure I don't blunder by king d4, rook a4 check, losing my bishop, which would be quite silly. But bishop d3 takes, once again, is really quite a simple win, because my king and pawns are just going to race. This is a trivial rook and pawn ending. Now in the game, he played bishop e6, bishop d3, a5, trying to mobilise his pawn. But really, that pawn's not going anywhere. But on the contrary, my king is, as you'll now see. So king d4. Now my pawn is, my king's now racing. Rook a1, king e5, bishop g8, king f6. So what can he do now? I'm attacking his g pawn. There's no way that he can defend it. Also have possibilities of rook b8, followed by winning his bishop on g8. So, and that's what he chose to go for. I mean, he played a4, and I played rook b8. Now threatening bishop c4. Now it's all really pretty trivial, and I think the rest of the game only took about 5 minutes, or not very long, because it was really quite simple. So he has to protect against bishop c4. So he played rook c1, rook a8, just gobbling up his pawn. And now I'm winning all his pawns, because I'm just about to win his pawn on a4, I'm just about to win his pawn on g5, and be 3 pawns up. He could have resigned here, but we're still before the time control, so I think Neil just played on a bit of inertia. Played g4. I could have ignored it, I could have played h4, but not taking it was pretty simple. And it wrapped up pretty quickly. I don't propose to really comment on any of the rest, because I said I'm 3 pawns up, and even I can win an ending 3 pawns up against a grandmaster, even if it was Karpov, I think. So it's pretty simple. Just get coordinated and shepherd the pawns up. Exchange off pieces if you can. It's quite simple, and actually at the end ended up winning his bishop as well. So that was a nice, pleasant, for me anyway, victory. But as you'll have seen in the game, a lot of the groundwork for the victory was the fact that I'd done such good preparation for this particular opponent. First of all, I'd done it 2 years ago before, when I thought I might play him as white, but I ended up not using the preparation. And then 2 years later, when I did get time to play it, I brushed up the preparation, polished it some more, and wheeled it out during the game. As it happened, Neil did surprise me with the sort of subsystem that he played, but because I'd done such good preparation, I really understood the positions quite well, comparable to his standard, even though he'd written a book about it, and so it gave me a good understanding of the position. Outplayed him in the early middle game, and Neil just really didn't escape from the opening. Even though he's a very, very strong player, he didn't really have a chance. I think the second thing, so apart from the good preparation, I think the second thing which helped me win it was the fact that it was quite a good case of my consolidation. I kept control of the tactics, helped by the fact that I actually had ample time to calculate the tactics. It's not so easy to keep control of the tactics if you don't have the time to actually do that, but I kept control of the tactics. I think sacrificing the queen back was quite a good way of keeping it simple, although I'm sure it was winning with keeping the queen on as well. But I was keeping it simple and uncomplicated, and keeping it into endings that I was confident that I would certainly win, rather than going into endings that were pure guesswork. Okay, well, thanks very much for your attention. I think that was probably a much more straightforward game than the previous game I showed you. Having said that, it's quite a complex line, the Leningrad Dutch. You get very, very complex play. I've not decided. I said in many ways I'm two-minded about it. On the one hand, I like playing against it, but on the other hand, I have played it myself and enjoyed playing it, and I don't think it's refuted. So I think it's a good system. So I wouldn't try to put anyone off playing it. And that's, I think, all I want to say. Thank you again for your attention. Thank you again for all your comments on my previous videos. They're very, very much appreciated. And I'll see you next time. Bye now.